I'd love to know who in their right mind decided that making video games about the Bible would be a good idea, or if anyone genuinely wanted to spelunk into this corner when it comes to gaming. Back in the 1980s, during the NES era, a group of mouth-breathing hooligans calling themselves Wisdom Tree plopped out a plethora of these things that have already been given the leg drop by AVGN and plenty of others. They gave us subterranean gemstones such as Bible Adventures and my absolute favorite, Bible Buffet, because nothing screams more Bibble than a game with a cover art having Pizza Steve Uncle with a Bob the Builder spud nose. All these titles that were released by Wisdom Tree were of course unlicensed. The overlords at Nintendo clearly wanted nothing to do with this practice, so you'd assume these would have phased out of existence after this short stint in the business. But there are actually somehow still more that kept releasing by other companies, like Charlie Churchmouse, a character that is on the Chuck E. Cheese wiki for some reason, and by my counts, he does seem to be a pretty respectable young sailor. On his website, Charles lets you know that his games are indeed spyware free, as if the fossil parent would have any idea what that was at the time. Upon finishing up the Mesozoic installation process, we're blessed to see Chuck pretending he's Spider-Man with a fishing rod, rappelling himself up to a book, allowing us to learn about various highlights from the Bible, like Noah's Ark, the three wise men, and even the creation of humanity undoubtedly being the best place to start. I'm immediately informed of how God created Earth in 6 days, and to uncover what happened on the 7th, I was expected to perform the unrealistically challenging task of sticking shapes into holes. Boy, do I love games that require the player to have a brain that resembles crumpled up tinfoil. I somehow persevered through the fire and flames to see what did in fact happen on day 7, where I'm shown a society of wet clay creatures and a man who has his pee-pee censored by a lion's nose, followed up by a bunch of obnoxious racket. The shape extravaganza continued on after, helping me understand that God created night and day by showing me a photo of Master Hand from Smash Melee. We really couldn't have just done a picture of a sun and moon. Now, this sort of stuff is surely expected with a game called Charles Churchmouse. Everything contained on this CD is juvenile pre-K learning, which could help a kid, honestly. These programs do work wonders for toddlers, and the average TikTok or YouTube Shorts user for sure. You give them a little, here's why you need to give me money today on my service or product that does nothing for you, alongside a camel that has engine sounds with bright colors in the background. That manipulative tactic could work, I'm just saying. As much as I wanted to besiege the Charles Churchmouse franchise, continuing on, becoming a humanoid amoeba, absorbing the knowledge extruding from every orifice of our anthropomorphic furry friend, I was not able to make that holy maneuver. The other two brain-wrinkling installments that I wanted to play oh so badly would not install. It would just sit on a screen, forcing me to stare deep into the soul of a dead, empty husk, teasing me with a disc his ass thinks I purchased. Some may believe it's odd to include a game that is so mundane. This is just edutainment gunk scraped off the bottom of a grill after frying a 120-year-old human skin, but it still weirdly has more rationality to its existence than anything else we're going to talk about. When you want to make an edutainment game for little kids, theme it around the Bible, teach them about shapes, that's fine. But when you're theming a game around Noah's Ark, pitting a bunch of animals against each other to race through nonsensical hazards where you can hardly determine whether what you are looking at is meant to be taken seriously or if it's some sort of joke, that's when the question marks fly in to carve a Norwood into a person's skull. Zoo Race is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most mesmerizing, unexplainable, LSD-riddled universes that has ever been concocted across the seven seas. Making sense of what happens while playing through words is borderline impossible. When I'm landing on a platform, running head-on into a train, watching my bear warp into the conductor's seat to commit terrorism against a sign with a Bible verse on it as each piece continuously explodes into fireworks, seeing a well-done cooked pig sitting on a slide made out of a banana peel, entering a cannon to have my poor animal launched across the entirety of our planet, witnessing a plane soar by to drop bombs on animals. What the fuck is anyone supposed to say about that? It's so ridiculous. I would genuinely be honored to have a sit down with the Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Test Science Sisters, mortar and pestle brain behind this operation, just to simply understand what the thought process was behind designing Zoo Race. Each track you go around is an amalgamation of nonsense that are also unsurprisingly not designed very well, if that needed to be said. You're either running in a bunch of straight paths against the three other creatures that you're sharing a realm with, or you're on ones that have dead ends and confusing ass pathways that are easy to lose your place in as the opposition blazes past you, which is a serious issue. Missing out on victories in this game is not an option. Whenever you attain a "you are winner," you always get to see Noah stomping his way to home plate, then sidetracking himself to a platform where the winner of the race is enjoying their moments of fame with fireworks blaring about. It was nothing short of a blessing to have Noah ring up the cronies, watching me as Reuben the Rhino get on my hind legs to boogie down. But fear not, if you are only interested in this dance-off action, not wanting to waste your time with the dumbass races, or you aren't able to win one, the development team knew players would have that mentality and created Creature Party, a whole music section letting you select from one of the soundtracks they designed to watch all of the animals try their best to dance, parading around a post-BJ Noah. It's nothing short of amazing. Everyone is spinning around having the time of their lives. Imagine if we lived in a universe where Travis Scott used this for Fiend, came out at WrestleMania 41 with Ruben and the Squad Tasmanian deviling themselves on stage. Without a doubt in my mind, the reception of that moment would have been a lot more positive. Unfortunately though, we don't exist in that timeline. If you look at the credits, it does let you know the game story is fiction, so that closes the book to open another one, cause Cougar Interactive never dies. They have another game called The Battle of Angels that has a great precursor for what's to come on their website. You are an angel called by God. Your mission is to transform this city ghetto into a lovely looking paradise. You must confront the existing spirit power there and defeat him. Presently, he rules the city with drug cartels, cocaine lords, and much more. You must defeat the one who controls these city structures inside the boxing ring. A grouping of words that would hype people everywhere right up. The first cutscene I got the pleasure of watching introduced me to a painted-faced man with burned ramen noodle hair standing next to his wanted poster. He finds a lady in the street, peers at her with binoculars. Semi-transparent meat from Mortal Kombat enters the fray, sounding as if there's a harmonica stuck in his throat.
Yep, she's all yours. Nobody will see you. Just go over there and get her.
An angel and demon appear on screen, then I'm transported to the previously mentioned boxing ring to have a one-on-one scuffle against our forbidden foe that didn't function. No matter what I pressed, my almighty character wouldn't execute his attacks, so I had to buy the game on Steam just to take a bite out of this great value cookie. Where I do think the entirety of the situation speaks louder visually more than anything else, both characters look as if they gave a thunderous cyclone a smooch. They're hardly able to move their body parts to pull their attacks off. You'd figure two ethereal life forms would be capable of having their own Jin versus Kazuya rumble, tearing it up in the sky, rather than being confined between ropes, stuck in bodies that function similar to a wind-up toy. However, with a little bit of practice, the angel does have the capability of becoming a movement meister, ascending up the food chain of hand-to-hand combat combat talent. Once the pirate's booty of pressing left and right is discovered, not a soul stands a chance. Spam this movement, add a few punches after the obnoxiously long cooldown is refreshed, and you'll melt your opponent's skull in acidic gold, always attaining victory. So, with all that laid out, you may be wondering, is it worth going through that trouble of stomaching what you're looking at? Actually, yes. The cutscenes that were assembled for the Battle of Angels make up for any mental anguish you may have had during the gameplay segments. After conquering the shriveled up sausage, I returned to Mr. Melted Candle from earlier, waltzing towards the girl. An angel spawns from thin air to spray him in the face with dust, and the girl waxes his shit with an iron Mike Tyson power punch to the gut, solidifying how there's no way Cougar Interactive were taking any of this seriously. These cutscenes are absolutely preposterous. We got random sticky finger thugs that steal a box of jewelry with their brain. I fought the demon again, put his mouth on the ring's mat. The goofballs who stole the jewels end up hallucinating multiple T-Rexes to chase them down the road, allowing the girl to get her stuff back. Next, I got to see a jolly man running in circles, lighting off fireworks. He blows himself into a human pinwheel, then continues to light off more immediately after. We even get to see a return of semi-transparent meat that is trying his best to convince a guy to jump off a building into traffic. Whether you get to see him do it or not is where the fighting comes into play. If you lose a fight or press the pause button, you get to watch the bad ending for the scenario you previously watched before your fight. Then you get a stern talking to from God, which is funny since I'm sure if God did see the game he apparently has a voice in, even he'd question what he's looking at and what curse was casted on the lands to help Battle of the Angels enter the universe. A small part of me wonders if the reason these games were released was to attempt an unorthodox play of advertising the creator's music. Both Zoo Race and The Battle of Angels have soundtracks with vocals that do have copyrights attached, so it's a real possibility. Oddly, I could see it working. If you get enough people to look at these goofy-ass games, maybe a person could be swindled into picking up a mixtape. I mean, there are humans on this planet who were duped into spending a couple of bones on the Bible game for PS2, yet another perplexing vortex of having an onlooker ask why. You start off picking one of 6 kids to enter the TV world because this is a game show hosted by a possessed porcelain doll and a very strange way of portraying a game about the Bible. It has to be one of those classic moments of an elderly Tom Ford wearing tofu-brained knucklehead who just discovered what a video game was, putting his alchemy skills to the test, brewing up a potion, and decided to dump it into the public for a small scoop of change. What we have here is essentially a minigame compilation with a bunch of them named after various Bible stories, where you're matching pictures of animals, making a map, or controlling an arrow to shoot balls at random icons atop a black hole stuck in the center of purgatory. I'm assuming the goal behind this was to create a fun for the family type of game, competing with Mario Party or whichever other games would turn a household into a transient Chuck E. Cheese experience. A move that missed its mark and then some, I'd say, mainly due to the fact each minigame has the depth of a piss puddle, typically requiring no more than 2 buttons to play, usually left and right, then one of the face buttons. It's no different than a title like Jumanji that was released by one of the 4 horsemen of the Scampocalypse, Blast Entertainment, except here it's Bible-themed, I guess. You're just doing a backstroke through the most plain, bland, unseasoned beef patty you could possibly punish your taste buds with, wallowing through a 30-minute torture chamber, questioning what you're doing with yourself, while sitting there wasting your precious time on a game that realistically has no reason to be among us. Neither camp is being satisfied with this. No gamer or religious folk get a lick of anything worth a shekel from the Bible game. I can speak from experience on this one. I sat through the entire half-hour slog just to see if there was a Final Jeopardy, Final Judgment, whatever they'd name it. And what they decided to stick in was picking question marks on a tree, hoping you get a fruit and not a snake. When I played, I nabbed a single fruit, didn't care about what happened, with my character, who looks like his face was imprinted by a waffle maker, being very smug about it, even though I lost the game, not entirely understanding how. I won almost every minigame that was played, but there's always next time, right? I could easily swan dive into the radical party mode, getting a bit of practice by playing the minigames individually. If Big Cheese Church Mouse taught me anything, it's practice makes perfect. Well, sadly for him, I think I'd rather return to the 1400s where I'll get chased by armored guards on horseback, ready to impale me with a lance if I stole a carrot off a merchant's wagon. Speaking of killing, that's what these Bible games are missing, right? I'm not the only one who has that frame of mind. The lands of the Bible gaming genre did have a short trek into the first-person shooter market, so clearly others thought the same way, summoning titles such as this. Not sure how the title is properly pronounced, so I'm just gonna call it Cheetahmen to honor the age-old bombshell that descended into our kingdom in 91. When the expedition begins, you walk your way through a choppy-ass environment to meet Crunk from Emperor's New Groove, a legendary figure that bestows a sword to the protagonist, who needs to avoid getting close to Roman guards in the castle halls, thanks to them all having an ancient-era iteration of the cheese touch, stopping you completely in your tracks when their hands enter your no-no square. If two of them grab you at once, you instantly die, forcing you to restart the level, which is needlessly frustrating. When you get touched, you aren't allowed to do anything about it. You're just stuck waiting for another one of the bucket heads to stick the key in his autonomic ignition, readying himself to make you eat the marble flooring. I was stuck at the first section of the game for 20 minutes since I was repeatedly being touched to death. All I wanted to do was go through without using the quick save, quick load bitch play. But with enemies who behave like this, I'd rather light up a stogie in the back of an oil tanker than deal with that. I'm going to abuse this to experience my Christian-themed Quake that has its brain trapped in a wheelchair. To nobody's surprise, Cheetahmen has watered-down, dilapidated gameplay in comparison to Quake, also missing a plethora of the big dick moments you come to know and love, like simply acquiring a new weapon. In this, Crunk or one of his fellow gang members appear periodically as you go through to plop a new weapon on the floor as a reward for your prowess against evil that don't have much variety in usage. A majority of them feel the same, lacking the heavy firepower you'd expect to see and hear, while power-washing groupings of various henchmen the devil sent to pack you up in a knapsack. It's fascinating in a way how the combat is the most apathetic part of the entire game. You're just watching the sword or staff shoot a flaccid projectile as you wait for the enemy to fall over. I don't know, maybe they didn't want to overstimulate the player too much because they'll already have their eyes going into overdrive, trying to get a clear image of some areas as they play. All the wars you fight in take place in locations that seem to be viewed through the lens of a reverse flashbang. Even with the brightness at 100, you can hardly see anything sometimes. The darkness truly consumes these lands that all have the overarching goal of pulling off the beloved Doom trademarked gameplay loop of searching for keys with a zoo animal brained technique implemented of not having any of those said keys or doors be color coded. When you find a key, there's no easy way to tell which door it goes to, forcing you to run around like a spoon-fed adult hoping you can uncover the proper slab of wood to open up. But as annoying as this was, it was nothing compared to the true blunder of how poorly the optimization is for Cheetahmen. The functionality and optimization is atrocious for a game you decided to re-release and sell on Steam. As a 26-year-old game, I assumed we'd at least be able to run it without having consistent frame drops and crashing problems. Is this game just that next level to where mortals aren't allowed to truly immerse themselves into it unless they go into a time machine or purchase a fossil of a PC loading up that sweet cheeked up Windows XP operating system? It didn't translate as poorly as it played into recording, but this situation did make me curious enough to purchase Enlightening's other game, Ominous Horizons, A Paladin's Calling, that is also a Bible-related title, summarized on Steam as "It falls to you, a noble paladin, to undertake the quest to retrieve the Gutenberg Bible that was stolen and to keep the darkness at bay for the low price of $9.99. This game did luckily run much smoother than Cheetahmen, and it's essentially the same game with minor improvements. They gave us real story building this time around, adding a few different NPCs to interact with. The first level introduces us to a gentleman who monologues about a holy item you need to retrieve, where you then traverse the land existing under our beautiful MS Paint, white dots on black, skybox design, weirdly looking as if it's unfinished. The whole entryway to the cave area is a bunch of buildings that have empty, smoothed out rooms. I have no idea what the design philosophy was. I don't care though. I'm just happy there are no Roman soldiers stampeding in to grope me to death. Instead of those guys, they dished out a few 90s Donkey Kong cartoon extras to maul our poor character or blow sand in his face. I think it would have been stupendous if these interactions had any way of inducing a tsunami of enjoyment for the player to drown in, but they don't. I assumed with the whole expansive switcheroo these guys did with the levels, like how in the second, we're trudging through a pyramid, avoiding traps, playing keep away from a goon dressed up as the famous humanoid canine that you cannot kill, sort of being a pain in the titty. He teleports around, occasionally blocking your path, getting you killed. It can be a genuine frustration to deal with, especially when you accidentally quick save right when him and his cohorts are prepared to do their 4D chess macro moves, eating you alive. Still, having levels such as this are a nice change of pace over witnessing the most mundane slimeball mouse one exhibition waiting for a soulless creature to topple on the ground. It would have been a nice treat for them to stick this same attention into the enemies or create interesting weapons to have the player want to Tarzan through the bushes and trees to find more. Pieces that, of course, did not enter the noggins of anyone creating this game. As I was playing Ominous Horizons, I was seriously questioning, does this really need to be about the Bible? Did revolving the game around it really add anything? I mean, I guess if you wanted to try standing out in comparison to other shooters, there can be an argument with that, but I refuse to believe the market for video games related to the Bible was rich enough to where people would be F5ing each other, crushing skulls against the nearest countertop if a singular sound wave entered their ear about a game revolving around the Bible being sold. With most of them, you could remove the whole Bible aspect and nothing would change, really. The Bible shenanigans feel shoehorned in more often than not, so it's just a strange situation overall. I played a few of these things, and I'm just as confused as I was when I started. I will probably remain stun-locked until the end of time for why this genre existed after the Wisdom Tree days. But I'm curious to hear all of your thoughts on them. Do you think the world needed video games based on the Bible, or maybe you're in the belief that they need to start making a comeback? Please let me know down in the comments below. Big ups to all of our channel members who go above and beyond each and every month, generously supporting the channel even further. If you would like to join them and get early access to content, hit the join button right next to the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, take very good care of yourselves, and I hope to see you all again in the next video.